Happy Tuesday, guys. No, this is not a beekeeping video, but I am gonna look like this while we're over on this side of the homestead today. I moved one of my swarm hives to the apiary, apparently did a really poor job at it, and I have some very lost, very angry foragers. More on that in another video. Let's check out these tomatoes. So we have yet to put in the T-posts that are gonna help us with our Florida weave trellising system in here. The tomatoes are really bushy. They are showing that they need a little bit more support, so we've got to get on that ASAP. Look at the clusters of fruit though. Isn't this awesome? So here's my hand for size reference at the moment. I have gone through the greenhouse and given each tomato plant one of these Job's tomato fertilizer spikes. I have fertilized in here with more natural things like rabbit manure. Over the winter, we composted with a really nice quality hay, and as that breaks down, that's going to add nutrients to the soil. This greenhouse is a work in progress, and so far I'm really happy with how this is going. Sometimes tomatoes in greenhouse settings have a hard time becoming pollinated, and that is because oftentimes the cover of the greenhouse makes it a little bit hard for pollinators to really see inside, see the fact that there's flowers, and there's also a wind block problem. So tomatoes don't exactly need a bug to pollinate them. Really just the breeze blowing by them and shaking the flowers sets the pollen down and can pollinate the tomatoes just fine. On days like today, when really the wind isn't moving at all, I don't hear a lot of pollinators inside here. I go around to each tomato plant and just give each post a little tap, and that's gonna help pollinate the plants as I go. See all those blossoms? And here are our variegated sweet peppers. And just the other day, I noticed that we are getting little tiny peppers coming on. Here's one. This pepper plant has variegated or striped leaves, and the fruit is going to be striped as well. I'm really excited to see that. About 2 weeks ago, I did go ahead and plant some bush beans in these holes on the outer edge of the greenhouse, and I did not have great germination at all. Either that or some kind of pest came through and ate my seedlings, but I have to replant. Really, this is the only survivor that we have out of probably about 30 beans that I planted. Get out. Our melons, some of them are doing okay. I haven't thinned them out yet because some of them have not done as well. We have had a little bit of a rodent issue in this specific bed. So when we filled these larger U-shaped beds, initially we put down logs and then sticks and leaves and things, and then local topsoil that we bought at a landscaping company. Well, it seems like the logs and things that are in there kind of make the perfect little habitat for rodents, and it's been kind of a struggle. So I actually plan to thin some of these out and fill in the gaps, but I want to wait a little bit longer. This is a good illustration of the issues this bed has. These two trailing nasturtium plants were started at the same time, but this one apparently was planted either right next to or right on top of a mouse hole, and roots won't go down into where there's air. So this plant really got stunted and limited because of that mouse hole, and I only discovered the mouse hole when I put in this little tomato here. I think this is a Tigerella tomato. This was a volunteer that came up in my sister-in-law's garden, and it's the tiniest tomato we have right now, but it's gonna have some of the prettiest fruit. See, Jessie, here's your tomato. It's doing good. See this big trailing nasturtium starting to do its thing here. Look at this. So I noticed the other day that our cucamelons are starting to get flowers. Look at this tomato. This is the strawberry tomato, and it's also a striped variety. Lots and lots of those. These are the atomic grape. These particular ones have quite a lot of purple on them, and I think part of that is the amount of sun that they get really brings that out. Because see these ones over here, these are also Brad's atomic grape, and they are not nearly as purple. We actually had a lot of rain this week, and it hasn't been super nice to our heirloom tomatoes. So I actually wasn't aware that green tomatoes could split, but I learned that this year. Some tomatoes, when they receive much more rain or much more water than they're used to receiving, they will swell up and crack. Now, this tomato has actually healed over and it will be fine, but we'll probably have to cut that part out. It just really will be hard and basically inedible. Just that part of the tomato though, the rest of it will be perfectly fine. So a little bit earlier, Levi and I were actually out here harvesting all of the potatoes that we grew. Now normally when you're growing full-size potatoes, you'll wait until the greens fully die back, and that's when you know the potatoes are as big as they're gonna get. When we used to buy potatoes at the grocery store, I used to buy the little 2-pound packages of new potatoes, and new potatoes are just an immature regular potato. They actually have a lot more sugars in them and a little bit less starch, and because of that they don't store as well, but that's okay. We're going to be eating them right up. The sweet potato bed, looking lovely. Let's see, there's a little sweet potato green coming up here. This plant here, this is actually a favorite of the pollinators. This is borage. And borage is another one of those edible flowers in the garden. I think it's supposed to taste like cucumber, though I've never eaten it. Nasturtiums are edible as well. They taste a little bit more peppery, kind of like a radish. Earlier, I went ahead and took out a lot of the brassicas or cool weather stone crops out of the garden. We've harvested tons of broccoli, tons of purple cauliflower. It was time to get those plants out because they were done. We do still have some purple cabbage putting on their heads, but as you can see, it looks like the cabbage loopers have been here. Yep, here they are. Found them. These are bad news. And it's kind of gross, but there's nothing easier to do when you see something like that in the garden than squish it when you see it. There's no reason to walk away and decide that I'm just gonna come back later and take care of it. It's just gonna keep eating while you're trying to get your act together, and it's better to nip it in the bud straight away. Those things will do a bad number on your brassicas. See those little things? Hurry up and grow. So this wild thing here is actually oregano, and it has looked better in the past. What happened to it, why it's so long and lanky, is all of the cabbages and broccoli and cauliflower that grew around it really did shade out their little bed here, and so they got long like this, looking for the light. I've had this particular wild looking oregano patch growing in the garden for going on 4 years, and I have done some pretty harsh haircuts, and it has come right back. Oregano is actually part of the mint family. Plants that are in the mint family are pretty notorious for taking over. So if you're gonna have oregano in your garden, you want to have it in its own space, in a container. Right now it's put in a little mini bed that is in between 2 other raised beds, but it has gone ahead and gone underneath the board here, separating the 2 beds, and has infiltrated. I probably won't go ahead and dry this oregano for culinary use. I mean, I'll still dry it, but what I will likely do is use this oregano after it dries in my honeybee smoker. As a beekeeper, one of the best bee smoking fuels that I have ever come across have been dried herbs. They're healthy for the bees, and arguably they can actually be beneficial. Herbs like oregano and sage help keep bacteria and viruses at bay, and bacterial and viral infections are something that bees do deal with. Hi, handsome. Do you want your treat? Do you want your treat? Because it's late in the day, the blooms are closed up right now. Look at that. These prickly pear blooms have been the favorites of the bumblebees. That one tastes weird? Yeah. What don't you like about it?
I don't know.
That's chard.
Good.
That's the one out of all of these that's actually gonna go, that's gonna grow through the summer.
Yeah. I like the kale.
I know, we need to do another harvest. Does that one taste okay?
Yeah, both of the kales taste good. I don't really like the stems, but I like the rest.
Well, watch over them because they might be getting those little worms on them. See? Yeah. See it?
Ooh, he's weird.
Is that gross? So when you're picking through here, watch out for that because the worms are out. Our lovely lettuce plants have gone ahead and decided that it's been too hot and they're gonna flower too. I have really enjoyed harvesting our own lettuce seed because it cross-pollinates so readily. It's kind of a surprise when you go ahead and sow it the next season. You don't really know what you're gonna get. See, they've got these long stalks on them. This one's just gotten really, really tall in the middle. They make pretty flowers. I'll be sure to show them to you. Every day, the elderflower gets closer and closer to blooming. That's a nice big one. Not open yet. Did you see where I put my coffee?
No.
Okay, I'll find it. The asparagus is a wild beast presently. Let's see here, this one must be a female plant because the asparagus is putting on tiny little flowers. And once these flowers have been pollinated, they turn into berries which contain the seed. Those berries are intensely toxic. Some of our beautiful zinnia have really opened up this week. That's been fun to see. This one is the Peruviana zinnia. It's so tiny compared to your average zinnia. I love it. Here are the Slippery Silks pole beans. These are a red variety of pole bean. And they haven't done as well as the other variety of pole bean that we have here. This one is a family heirloom of one of my subscribers. It doesn't really have a name. I think she said it's a yellow pole bean. I think part of the success of this bean may be the variety, but also these beans really have gotten shaded out by the brassicas that have been in this bed. And now that we're starting to pull the brassicas out, they're going to be receiving much more light. There it is. I did harvest another green cabbage earlier. These guys are further ahead than the purple variety. Look at that one. Oh yeah, we've got some blackberries. That's exciting. See that one? Most of what I have growing in this strawberry patch right here are Alpine Strawberries. This is what they look like. They look a lot like those wild strawberries that you can find around this area that really don't taste like anything, except for these ones are delicious. Super sweet, the right amount of tartness. You want to pick them when they have a little bit of give to the berry. If they're still hard, they're going to be super, super tart. It's not what you want. The kids have been begging me if they could come out and eat some strawberries, but I told them no because I wanted to show you guys some. Here's the white variety. See here? The white ones are my favorite because they don't have that classic strawberry flavor. It's a tiny bit like pineapple. Super good. One of the reasons I saw that some people don't like to grow alpine strawberries is that they throw off runners, which are new plants. And runners are actually more easily seen on the strawberries that I have over here, but they'll throw this shoot off from the main plant, and this is going to be a whole new plant all in itself. This plant will go ahead and root in the bed, and once it's securely rooted, this connection here will die off, and then this one can send out its own runner. And on and on and on ad infinitum until you are completely covered in strawberries, which doesn't sound like a bad thing to me. Over here too, we have our volunteer squash, which is still a mystery as to what type it is. It is getting some little blossoms in here, but these look like they're going to be male blossoms, and we can't exactly tell what variety of squash this is quite yet. It's pretty neat when the female blossoms come in on most squash plants. You get a little mini version of the fruit that it's gonna produce at the base of the flower that it puts on, at the base of the female flower. The male flowers just have a regular stem without that little plump fruit at the base. When the female flowers come in, we'll be able to tell what type of squash this is. I'm betting that it's butternut. The strawberries over here though are doing fantastic. They don't mind the shade at all. Tons of runners. I'm gonna try to keep the runners in the bed so they can spread. Okay, now that I've gotten to show you the strawberries, let's turn the kids loose on them. Oh, did you smash it?
No, it's so squishy.
You gonna eat it?
No, squishy.
Beautiful.
Try it. I'm looking through plants. Hurry!
Our bottle baby goats are getting really, really big. It's still dangerous to crouch near goats, right? It always is. So I've got a goat content video coming up this Friday. In the meantime though, if you'd like to see how we amended the garden and got those amazing cabbages, go ahead and click this video. It's huge.
Trying to get a thumbnail?
Yes.
Okay, that should work.
Is it too similar to my last one?
I don't remember the last one.
It looks like this.
Well, maybe it's good.